So today I'm going to demonstrate treble bleed, which is a modification you can do to the volume pots on your guitar to maintain brightness as you turn down the volume. Now this guitar is an Epiphone Riviera P93 and it has no treble bleed circuit. You can see I've pulled out all the electronics here so we can easily get behind them and tweak them. First of all, I'm just going to demonstrate what it sounds like stock. I've got the volume all the way up on the bridge pickup and the tone is all the way up. I'm playing through the a distorted channel on my Vox VT30 amp. This is what it sounds like. If I turn the volume down by about half, got a little bit duller. I'm going to turn down the volume all the way and just up a fraction. Here it got very muddy sounding now. No high frequencies really are getting through. It still sounds pretty distorted because the low frequencies are still getting through and making it distort, but it doesn't sound very good. It's just like mud. Now, you know, not everybody plays with their volume pot all the way down, but actually there's some pretty practical applications. I'll demonstrate on my other guitar, which is a G&L ASAT. This guitar does have a treble bleed capacitor installed on the main volume pot. So I'm going to play through the same sound on the amp, but this time through the middle pickup of this G&L. I'm going to turn the volume and tone all the way up. This is what it sounds like. It's a brighter guitar to begin with. As we back off the volume knob, that's about halfway down, and you can hear it cleaned up quite a bit, and it just got quieter. This is all the way down, up a little bit. Wow, so the distortion is almost entirely gone. It's a very bright and clean sound. This is a pretty cool way to switch between clean and distorted sounds in the same song just by, you know, reaching down with your pinky and twisting the knob. Of course, you can also do this just with a volume pedal on the floor or by playing through a clean channel on the amp and clicking on a distortion pedal when you need it. But there's something to be said for just being able to reach down with your pinky and dial in a sound like that. For example, okay, I've prepared an experiment so we can try treble bleed on this guitar. I've attached a couple of alligator clips to the back of the bridge volume pot here. And this will let us clip in various capacitors and see how it changes the sound. So I've got the volume on the bridge pickup turned down almost all the way. It sounds like this. Very muddy. So what I'm going to do here is clip in a 1000 picofarad orange drop capacitor. This is a very common one that's recommended for this kind of circuit. It says 102 on the side. That's 1000 picofarads or 0.001 microfarads. When you touch it with your fingers, it doesn't sound so good. All right, so with that in place, this is what it sounds like. I'm going to pull the lead off the end of it. So this is without it. So that's letting through a lot of the high frequencies. It's not cleaning up the sound the way the treble bleed did on the G&L. I think these pickups have a lot more low end in them and are a bit hotter. But I definitely hear it as a nice improvement. Let's try a different type of capacitor. This is a super cheap, tiny little ceramic of the same capacitance, a 102, 1000 picofarad. Let's look that up for comparison. So I didn't hear too much difference between the ceramic and the polypropylene orange drop at the same capacitance. Let's try one more material type. This is a silver mica 1000 picofarad. I'm not really expecting much difference at this point. So whatever difference there is between these different material types, I think is pretty subtle to the sound. It may be more about quality and longevity than the sound. But let's try some different capacitances, and these differences won't be so subtle. Let's start really small. This is a 100 picofarad silver mica, and that's tiny. That's 1/10 the size of the one we just listened to. The smaller the value lets only the highest frequencies bleed through. Now on the G&L, that has a 200 picofarad capacitor in it. Those pickups are really bright. They're the G&L single coils, and they're ceramic magnets. These Epiphone pickups are really not that bright, and these ones have Alnico 5 magnets. Let's hear what this sounds like. Not expecting to hear much difference, because if there's not many high frequencies to begin with, they won't bleed through. There's nothing there to bleed. So that's with it. That's without it. Don't really hear anything. Let's bump it up to a, this is a 391 silver mica. That's 390 picofarads. Yeah, now I'm starting to hear something. That's a nice improvement in the brightness. It's not quite as big a sound as with 1000 picofarad, but it's a step in the right direction. You might prefer this sound over the brighter sound, so the key is to experiment. Now let's try some, let's go the other direction and try some bigger capacitors. This is a 332, which is a 3300 picofarad. This will let more of the frequency range through, lowering the cutoff frequency a little bit, so some of the mids will start to get through a little bit too. It's a bit of a different sound. Let's go even bigger. This is a 682, 6800 picofarad, so twice as big again. So this is starting to let too much through. It's almost like turning the volume knob back up again. It's letting so much of the frequency range back in that it's just making it a lot louder. Let's pop that out again. Back in. One thing I didn't mention before is that if the volume knob is all the way up, this capacitor makes no difference. For example, volume's all the way up. Let's pull the capacitor out. So it's really only coming into play as you turn the volume down. A very good, easy, inexpensive mod to do. And the next thing to do, I think I'm going to pick this one right here. It's the Orange Drop 102, 1000 picofarad. Is to just solder it onto the back of the pot. That's real easy to do. Let's take a look.